Some performances on those singing shows win you a trophy. And then there are moments that do something more. They silence every single person who ever doubted you. For Fantasia Barrino, a 19-year-old single mom who so many people had already written off, that moment was a jazz song from 1935 that she turned into her own personal anthem. This is the real story of how one performance cemented a legacy and proved to the world that Fantasia was never anything less than an icon. When Fantasia first hit that American Idol stage in 2004, you could tell right away she wasn't like everybody else. She came from High Point, North Carolina. She was a high school dropout, a young mother, and a survivor of things most people couldn't imagine. And her voice? That voice was a raw, gospel-trained force of nature. It was the truth. But her story, her realness, didn't fit into that clean, polished pop star box. The pushback was real and it was fast. People, even some producers on the show, got nervous. They reportedly told her to stop talking about her daughter, to hide her past because it was costing her votes. She later said she kept thinking, how could I be a role model for their kids? Fantasia felt like an outsider, like she didn't belong. She didn't have money for fancy clothes and felt the crushing pressure that this was her one and only shot. The voice was there, but the industry doubters kept asking if her fiery, unique style could ever be packaged for the masses. Week after week she sang her heart out, but that label of the unpolished girl just wouldn't go away. She felt like no one was in her corner. And then, the top 8 performance came. The night that changed everything. She picked Summertime from Porgy and Bess, and as she put it, this was the song that was gonna make people change their minds. When Fantasia walked onto that stage, you could feel a shift in the air. She kicked her shoes right off. The wardrobe department was probably freaking out, but she said she needed to be grounded. She had to take it back to her roots, back to how she sang at home. The moment she sang that first line, Summertime and the livin' is easy, a hush fell over the entire building. This wasn't just singing. This was a sermon. This was a testimony. She crouched down on that stage, channeling every ounce of her struggle, her pain, and her absolute defiance into that song. Her voice soared with a power that was somehow both heartbreaking and full of victory. By the end, she was in tears, not tears of sadness, but because she was feeling that song in her soul. When she sang, "You're going to rise up singing, then you'll spread your wings and take to the sky," it didn't sound like a lyric. It sounded like a promise she was making to herself. The cameras cut to the judges. Paula Abdul was just gone, a look of pure shock on her face. Randy Jackson was already on his feet, but the one that mattered most was Simon Cowell. He just sat there, completely mesmerized. His usual cynical mask was just gone. The song ended, the crowd absolutely lost their minds, and the judges just sat there trying to find the words for what they just saw. The praise was instant, and it was total. Paula called it an Oscar-winning performance. But it was Simon Cowell who delivered the final word that shut down the haters for good. He told Fantasia, "You proved the point with that performance tonight, why we are critical of people who just sing well, because there was something magical about what you just did. It was outstanding." When she sang it again in the finale, Simon went even further, calling her the best contestant to ever compete in any singing competition anywhere in the world. That one song flipped the entire script. It was named one of the biggest TV moments of the year. Nobody was talking about her backstory or if she fit the mold anymore. They were talking about her world-class, undeniable talent. The girl from High Point hadn't just found her voice, she had demanded that the world finally listen. She went on to win the whole thing, and her first single, I Believe, debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making her the first artist in history to ever do that. Fantasia's Summertime wasn't just her singing a song, it was a declaration. It was the moment a singer became a legend, proving that real, raw, authentic talent will always burn brighter than doubt. She took her pain and her power and laid it all out on the stage in a performance that 2 decades later still gives you chills. From there, she built a legacy, winning a Grammy and becoming a star on Broadway and in the film version of The Color Purple. I will never forget watching that live. It felt like history. Where were you when Fantasia had her Summertime moment? I want to know what you felt. Share it in the comments below.